Order the regular board meeting for Rock Ridge Public Schools, Monday, September 12th. Will everybody please silence their phones, their iPads, or any other thing that you have? I will now ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I received, about 10 days ago, I received notice that Brandy has a mandatory class tonight, and she will not be here. And this afternoon, Stacy contacted me and said she would not be able to make tonight. So thought I would let the board know that. We'll do roll call. John? Here. Tom? Here. Bill? Here. Nicole?
Here.
Polly?
Here.
Matt?
Present.
And I am here. So we have 7. I have one addition to the agenda under the consent agenda, 0.49, Lisa Rudstrom, and it's approval of a 0.2 overload. She'll be teaching chemistry and physics. She's already one of our science teachers, so. At this time, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll move.
Support. Motion by Bill, support by Tom.
I have additions or deletions of the agenda. First of all, on 6.1 and 6.2, I have a question. On 6.1 comes before 6.2 to consider approving the ELVA facilities use agreement. And after that comes the use agreement for the city of Virginia. So if we act on one and then the other, one might be a moot point. So I think that we need to combine those two items into one discussion. And that's my suggestion, to just make it 6.1 discussion of both of those at the same time.
Yeah, I don't have any.
I don't have a
problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that either.
Okay,
Inextricably linked.
right. Okay. And then 6.3, I would make a motion to delete 6.3 for the fact that it has just come before us. I have so many questions and unanswered questions about it. And I think we should, as a full board, discuss it before we even considering approving it.
So you want 6.3 to be a discussion?
Delete for another meeting and then have some discussion.
Well, we can discuss it.
We can discuss it,
Be
just take
discussed.
some action.
Oh,
We
okay,
can discuss it, not take any action. Fine.
all right, that'd be fine. Then I had suggested earlier that we move that 6.1 and 2 up to the agenda because we have a lot of people here that seem to, are going to be speaking about that issue.
Speak during visitor input.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but then to have to wait till almost 2/3.
They like coming to our board.
I just wanted to do that out of courtesy, that's all. We do it sometimes.
With no objection, we can do that.
I would say that would, no objection from me.
Okay. So we have a motion.
Did the objection to not moving 6.1 to the top, it just, with her objection, you say objection.
To move it between the consent agenda and
We'll move it before the consent at
6.1 and 2?
6.1
Oh.
combined, yeah.
Okay,
After the
I'm
consent.
fine with it.
after the,
After the consent agenda,
I'm fine
excuse
with
me. So, okay. So we are going to combined 6.1 and 2. We've added 0.49 under the consent.
And then one more on payment of the bills. I have a question. I keep wondering why at some meetings we get two packets of information. One is called the payment of the bills and one is just, I don't even know what it's called. So sometimes we get two, like last time we only got one. So first of all, what's the difference between the two? Some things are on both of them and some aren't. And then I have another question about some of the bills. Anybody else hasn't wondered about that? I have.
I have wondered about that too, yes.
So, could you explain the difference between the two documents we get?
Because Spencer Ani is not here, I don't want to misspeak for him, so I would suggest the board just wait on that and we'll make sure Spencer's here for the next board meeting, if you're okay with that.
Okay, I'm okay with that. And then some of the bills on there, I noticed that, boy, for 1 month or one pay period, we've got $12,000 just for advertising and whatever it is, publishing from just one entity, the Hometown Focus, and I think that's quite high. And for budget reasons, I don't know, we should have a discussion about what we budget for that, what we actually expend for publishing and advertising. And we've talked about some other things too, like legal fees and some other things, maybe teachers on call, because they seem to be real high items of
If we're
expenditures.
going to pull consent agenda item number 2, we can discuss this and have answers at the next board meeting, rather than hash all the different ones out tonight, okay?
Okay, but the $12,000 of Hometown Focus won't be on the next payment of bills.
Have to be on the next one.
If we don't approve.
But not that
it,
amount.
Everything that's on today's will be on the next board meeting also.
Okay, you can assure me we'll just maybe discuss or even throw it into a budget meeting about the high
Well,
high
bring it back.
expenditures?
So would you like to pay the bills except for that?
No, I just think at some point in time, we need to take a look at our budget and the certain high-cost expenditures that were,
Okay.
Okay. So we are going to pull consent agenda item number 2,
4.2?
I would ask
4.2.
Dr. Schmidt if that's going to create any issues if,
I'm not suggesting we pull it. I'm just
Just
saying,
wants clarification.
Well,
Like,
without,
in the future, okay?
oh, you don't, in the future, you want clarification?
Well, since Spencer isn't here tonight.
Okay.
for us to have a discussion on it.
Yeah, okay, so we'll have a discussion at the next board meeting on it with Spencer weighing in so that we can get the answers we need. So we have a motion by Bill, second by Tom to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Consent agenda. We have 49 items on there. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
so moved.
Support. Is that you, Matt?
Yes.
Support by
Yeah.
Director Bill.
Is there input with that before?
Oh, I apologize. I got way ahead of myself here. I'll finish this since I've already got a motion. Thank
But there
you.
might be something that they want to discuss there.
No.
I would-
So we have a motion by Matt, second by Bill to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Item number 3, recognition of visitors and visitors' input. I had 7 requests. I have granted 6 of them. To come up and talk to the school board. Each of them will have 3 minutes. And so the first one I have is Ben Johnson.
And can you tell us why you didn't grant the sixth one?
The 6th one asks for us to look at something about the Gilbert High School and a proposal, and we didn't have a proposal,
Okay.
and we had no documentation, so,
Just wondering. Yeah.
yep. So I said no and told them that if they want to in the future,
Here, can I, like?
no, you cannot, thank you.
Then I just want to know, what do I need to do to get to speak at a school board meeting?
You know,
I've been asking all summer. I
Get-
just want an answer. Thank you.
You-
I follow the policies.
Very good, thank you, Ben. State your name and,
My name is Ben Johnson, the head high school hockey coach of the boys program.
give us your,
Thank you for letting me speak. I didn't want to get to this point, as far as trying to be political or get up here and explain what the boys program has to be. But it's getting critical where the decision's got to be made, like soon, because it's not affecting just our team, it's affecting everybody that plays hockey and figure skate and everybody in our program from Wasabi East to everywhere. And so I just wish we could make a decision sooner than later, because hockey basically starts a week from tomorrow and we have no scheduling for our youth, for everything. There's no decisions made where we're playing. Board members call me asking my opinion. So my opinion is I thought it should be 75-25 from the get-go. 75% at the MEC, 25% at the hip. Just for the regards of, we put so much into our training center at the MEC. Our guys are right there. We can train, get bigger, faster, stronger every day. Don't quite have that at the hip right now. It'd be nice if we did. We're not opposed to being at the hip. It's just the way we train. We're gearing up to go to the state tournament. We're not gearing up to just have a hockey program. We're hitting high gear. Our goals are getting down to the XL Center. And with that being in our sights, we want all the training we can have. And with the state of the art, what we have at the MEC is awesome. We respect the hip, and I don't think the hip should go away. But to be there 100% of the time, or be at the MEC 100% of the time, logistically, it doesn't work for our program. Our coaching staff wants to be involved with the youth. We want our high school guys involved with the youth. So if we go to the hip full time, we're not going to get off the ice till 9 o'clock at night. There's no room for the squirts, the peewees, the bands, the girls, all the other teams involved. If we go 100% at the MEC, it's the same thing. You got figure skating in both high school programs. There's not going to be any interaction with our youth. So we want to be involved with the youth. We've been involved with the youth all the way from mites all the way to junior gold. Everything that's involved, we want to be involved with. And if we have a practice, if we have a peewee or a bantam practicing after us, we can kind of be around to help the coaching staff, to help the players. Those players get to look up to our varsity guys. It's just a big circle of positive stuff. But if we get shoved at one way or the other, 100%, I respect the hip. I mean, we got to look at the heritage of the hip. It's a great place to play. But not like we don't want to play there. But if we can practice majority of the time in the state-of-the-art facility where our guys can get bigger, stronger, faster, and grow our program throughout the whole thing, that's only going to make the whole area better. But when we get off the ice at 9, there's no way we can even go to a practice or a game. So the logistics of how everything's ran right now is a big question mark. And as far as tournaments and bringing money in, we can't even schedule tournaments right now. We're too late. So next year we can have a holiday tournament and use the hip and the MEC and everything around here. But right now we're in just park right now, and our guys are revving to go, but we don't know what's going to happen here. But it's super critical to have some type of decision today if we can, because then we can get going. But I'm all for kind of 75-25. I think is fair. I don't think 50-50s. I just don't like that. I'm not for 100%. I think our guys are kind of similar that way. The guys want to play at the MEC, but they're not opposed to playing at the hip a little bit. But with the facilities we have there, it makes sense for them to train properly. We have the therapy room, everything. They get treated like pros over there. And the hip is obviously 100 years old. We don't have all those things there yet. So that's kind of where we stand, I guess.
Okay,
Well, thank you, Cole.
I have a question, actually.
Oh, no,
Can I cast
no,
questions?
no.
Why? Bill did other meetings. You did before.
This is for public input. We're not going to get into a question and answer.
I just want a clarification.
how's your policy written?
So
Policies.
are you
says there's
saying,
no
so
Interaction.
this year you want 75, like if you had your wish?
If we had our wish, yeah.
And then now, because Virginia is proposing something different for the next 2 years. So are you saying you do not want 100% at the MAC going forward?
No, that'd be great, but we still want the option to play at the hip too.
Right. Okay. I just want clarification.
We don't want to never play at the hip. That's not our intentions. But the way, where we train and majority of it, we feel we should be over there. I'm a little worried about the hip. I don't know if the ice plant can handle all that. It's like a used car. If it could blow, all of a sudden we're in trouble, then we got to go back over there and figure it out. I don't know. But there's a lot of other questions too.
All right, thanks.
Thank
Thank you.
you, Coach.
Thanks, Ben.
Russ Troutline.
My name's Russ Troutwine. I grew up in Gilbert. I lived in Evelyn for 5 years. I live out in Fail Township the last 20 years. I've got 3 kids that have been through hockey. 2 have graduated or are playing junior hockey right now. And I just wanted to bring up my thoughts. I mean, I never played hockey, but I'll just give you my opinion on all this, what's been going on. I agree with what Ben said. I mean, it's frustrating that they've had to wait this long to deal with this, but whatever. And I think if you had Town A builds a brand new facility, they've got weight training, shooting area, dry land, parking's abundant, plenty of handicap parking, plenty of seating, easy to get in and out of. Town B, you've got a older facility, parking's not great at all. You got to walk down the middle of the street to get into the arena. There's 3 handicap spots. If you didn't know the names of the town, what would you choose? I mean, it's pretty obvious. You throw Virginia in Town A and Evelyn Town B, your thought process switches for some of you. If they built this, or if it was the other way around and they built the new arena here in Evelyn and they were still using the minors, you'd probably have it the other way where people from Virginia were complaining about it. The best facility to use, hands down, is the one in Virginia. I mean, it's a no-brainer for this. I think this team needs a true home. You've got every other, you've built this state-of-the-art facility. I drive by, you've got this brand new football and track. You're going to have brand new basketball, softball, baseball. Everyone gets these brand new state-of-the-art facilities, but you've got the board here screwing around thinking, well, maybe we'll do 50-50. Maybe we'll do 100 here, 100 there. Why should you put that on the kids? I mean, you've got a brand new facility in Virginia. Hey, if it was built in Evelyn and we were still at the minors, I'd say you're going to play in Evelyn. I don't care where they play. I mean, there's people that are mad. I understand that, but it's like this facility is like Ben said, it's everything they need is right there. The hip doesn't have that. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not one of those I'm not tied to any of these buildings at all like some of these people are. It makes the most sense for these kids. I mean, I don't know what else to say on that. And I think another thing that has been going on forever, it's time to get past this stuff where, there's no more Blue Devils anymore. There's no more Golden Bears. I mean, I don't, honestly, God, there's people in these towns, I don't know if they still realize that yet or not. I mean, it's time to get past that. There's no more blue and white. There's no more gold and black. There's no more maroon and gold like there is down at the hip. I mean, how long ago did we consolidate? 95, 96? Go down to the hip, it's still maroon and gold. It's embarrassing. I mean, the city of Evelyn can do whatever they want, but for 27 years or whatever my math, I mean, it's been maroon and gold in there. They didn't bother to change it. Why? They didn't even support the team that was black and gold. They wanted to keep it maroon and gold, and that's fine. The city of Evelyn can do whatever they want, and it's not like the school district could have chosen to go play at the bubble. I understand that, but it's like, let's support these kids. It's green and black. It's the Wolverines. And I don't know if you're going to get that when you go down to Evelyn. Now, if they're going to play games in there, it's like you're playing an away game. You can think it's something silly, but I mean, that's every other athletic event is going to be, it's all going to be brand new facilities, green and black. And here we are, we're going to force these kids, well, you're going to go down there, it's maroon and gold, the locker rooms are yellow and black. I mean, are we going to do this right, or we want to, I mean, is this how we want to go about this? I mean, those kids, it's time to get, the past is the past. And we can honor the past, and we realize, the great program we had. But these kids are they're the present and the future, and it's green and black, and it's Wolverines. We got to get past this. I mean, and I know some people don't like to hear that, but that's just the way, that's the way it is. You feel bad if most of that stuff gets moved to Virginia, but that's just the way it goes, So, that's what I've got to say.
Okay, thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
Thanks, Russ.
Isaac Flatley.
Game on Friday.
All right, hi, I'm Isaac Flatley. I'm a senior captain on the Rockridge hockey team. I'm here to talk about why the Rockridge boys hockey team would like to have the Iron Trail Event Center as our home site. Last year we played 6 games at the Hippodrome and 6 games at the Iron Trail Center. Last year during our season, we had no sense of having a home rink at all. We didn't have a place to begin to build our program, a new program, a place that we could consistently hang out and bond as a team, or even keep our equipment at consistently. At the beginning of every week, our coaches had to tell us what days we were going to be practicing at each arena for that week. There was one week where we had a game in Evelyn on Tuesday, and then on Thursday we played in Virginia. We never felt like we had a home rink advantage at all the whole season. We want consistency so we can build a successful hockey program. Near the end of the season, we had a game against Hibbing last year at the Hippodrome 2 days before the sectional seating meeting. I remember lining up on the ice for a face-off and looking down and seeing cement and pieces of paint between my skates. This is not safe, but at the same time, none of my teammates were surprised at this. The Hip has a cool history, but the conditions of the ice and facility have deteriorated. We have an opportunity to play at a state-of-the-art facility where this would never happen. Another important advantage that the Iron Trail Center can provide is a room for weight training and areas for shooting pucks. Weight training together helps us to bond as a team and is important for preventing injuries during the season. This will help us start a new culture and getting stronger during the season that we haven't had in the past. Virginia and Evelyn Gilbert schools combined to build a new Rockridge program. All other Rockridge sports programs are getting to build their programs in new facilities. Why is our boys hockey program being asked to play at an old Evelyn site when we can have a new state-of-the-art facility that wants to have us there? Please let us make the Iron Trail Event Center our home. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Terrell.
Superintendent Schmidt and board members, thank you for having me. I think I'm going to be in the minority here a little bit, but I appreciate you having me here to talk. A lot of opinions, a lot of passion about this issue, and what Isaac just said and what Russ just said. There is some truth to that. Being the former coach of the Evelyn Gilbert Mesabi East Boys program, there are some facilities at the IT MEC that we certainly would have loved to have. That's an opinion. You all got a letter from me about 2 weeks ago, which was filled with opinions. It was filled with opinions about heritage on both sides, heritage hockey of Virginia, heritage of the hockey at Evelyn Gilbert. It spoke about, where we should play games. It spoke about a lot of things, and what we're going to hear a lot of tonight is opinion. I think of what you as board members are struck with is a difficult decision, and that decision has to be based on fact. What's the facts? The facts here are you have two communities that are very passionate about their hockey. Two communities that do have a rich heritage in hockey. Two communities that want to be able to see their high school hockey team, which is the Rock Ridge Wolverines, play at their community's facility. I grew up in the HIP, so obviously I'm biased towards the HIP, but at the same time, I don't think it's right to want to have all of the games at the HIP. I also don't think it's right to have all of the games at the IT MEC for that reason, that you have a community, two communities that want to see this team play. Three communities, sorry, Bill. I'm talking about the school district of Gilbert and Virginia. What else is fact? I think we have to revert back to the fall and winter of 2020 and the spring of 2021 when combination and consolidation and the two hockey programs merging started being talked about. Now, I believe somewhere in the documentation with former athletic director Jojo Scott and current activities director Josh Lampa, they put together a packet of all the athletics. And in the packet, when they were talking about hockey, they said it would be a shared program and both communities would still have high school hockey. At what capacity, that's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide. Whether it's 70-30, 75-25, which Coach Johnson was talking about, whether it was 50-50, whether it's 100%, that's up to you. But in this packet, when they started talking about it, and it was talked about at school board meetings, and Superintendent Schmidt also talks about it, that both communities will have high school hockey. I want to be clear what I'm talking about personally. I'm talking about the games. I totally understand the practice dilemma. I went through it. I went through it when we had to practice in Mesabi East sometimes, and the boys had to carry their bags, and we had to carry equipment back and forth, so I get that. But we have two communities that are very passionate that want to see high school hockey at their facilities. I can't talk about what the city does with their facility in Evelyn. I can't talk what the city will do with their facility in Virginia. All I can do is ask you as the school board to just kind of look at the facts, not the passion, because everybody's passionate in here, and I appreciate everybody's opinion, including those that aren't, that don't see it the same way as I do. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Next is Wade Harsela. Is Wade here? Yep.
Well, first I'd like to thank you, the school board, for allowing me to talk at this meeting for you. As you may know, I'm a hockey player from Rock Ridge, here to talk to you about the location of our boys hockey team this year. As of last night, the Iron Ridge Conference website said that the Rock Ridge boys hockey team will be playing 5 games at the Evelyn Hippodrome from December 3rd until December 30th. This is despite parents writing letters, coaches voicing concerns, and even my teammates and I having a vote that showed an overwhelming majority of us wanted to play little, if none, games at the HIP. 97%, in fact, voted in favor of playing most games at the MEC. So if players want to play the majority of games at the MEC, why don't we? After all, we are Rock Ridge now, not Virginia and Evelyn. So why should we play at a facility that was ground zero for fierce rivalry that we were trying to put in the past? Instead, it feels like we were trying to keep the past alive. Now, don't get me wrong, the HIP is historic, and its history should be remembered. But that doesn't mean playing half of our games at a rink that the team doesn't even want to play at. Did Evelyn Gilbert's varsity hockey team play half of their games in White Lakes when they combined with Mesabi East? No, they played 1 to 3 games a year there. So much for maintaining the history of Mesabi East hockey team, right? Wrong. The way that I see it is 2 is the perfect number. We're still remembering the history and past of the HIP, but we are also playing majority of games at a new arena, and we are moving forward. After all, do professional sports teams play half of their games in retro and heritage jerseys, or do they play a small minority? Now, this may feel like a Virginia kid not wanting to play at an old Rivals arena, but that's just not the case. Unlike many of my teammates, I was part of the 2018 Virginia Evelyn Gilbert Mesabi East Band B team, and we played all over, from White Lakes to Virginia and Evelyn. We even had some practices at the bubble. This team was very much like our Rockridge team last year, floating around, having practices all over, and never really having a home. We split practices between 4 locations, and it was not fun. We were moving our gear all the time and having to adjust to the conditions of rinks every time as we moved, and it most definitely did not help us win. Now, don't think I'm neglecting the girls' team. If they too want to play at the MEC, I fully support it and would fight for them as well. But when we have home games, we can practice on, or when they have home games, we can practice on the back. And when they have home games, we can practice on the back. Oh, I just messed that up, my bad. I see that as a good compromise, but that may not be possible. So 75-25 would also be perfect. But that still does not mean we need to play 5 games at an old rink. And we have a state-of-the-art facility right in front of us. After all, we are meant to be moving forward and not staying in the past. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fitz.
And we'll try the last name.
I'm not going to.
I didn't think so. I'm Fritz Quaternick. I'm going to speak to you about something. I know there's a lot of passion, but I'm talking about finances, right? Because you guys are in charge of the checkbook. And I don't know if you guys got like bags of money hidden underneath there, but I just did some quick financial calculations here. I was a little bit shocked. I didn't see this until today, the Virginia proposal. I saw the Evelyn one was on the board book last week. And I remember watching the meeting, and you guys had sent it back to Virginia asking for a 250 and 500, right? 2 different proposals. Virginia's got a 350 and a 100. Okay, there's no 250 in here. I don't understand that because I thought you guys were going to try to compare apples to apples. Well, right now you can't. But I can tell you what you can do is if you go through this number here, there's a number here for $40,000 for this year. That looks good. Then if you add in all other fees, it comes out to $207 an hour. The city of Evelyn said $150 an hour. Okay? This comes up to $72,000 for 350. If you add an Evelyn rate, then you're at $95,000 for this year for hockey. When the city of Evelyn got a proposal in for $75,000 for 500 hours, this proposal, if you do the 70-30 split, is going to cost you $95,000. So you're laying off paraprofessionals. You're laying off teachers. You can't winterize the school in Gilbert. You can't tear down the buildings because we don't have the money for it. And we're talking about hockey. We're getting rid of teachers, and we're going to spend 20 grand extra to play hockey there or wherever else. Your job as protectors of the purse is not to spend our money. Everybody in here pays taxes. This is our money you're spending. Now, if you can explain to me how $20,000, and I don't care if Evelyn was $20,000 cheaper or Virginia was $20,000 cheaper. I tell you, go wherever it's cheaper. Because what we need to do is conserve in this district, as we've been watching the meetings for a year. And we don't have the money, right? I assumed that after the last meeting, when you said, we'll send it back to Virginia and ask for this proposal, and then Evelyn published their proposal in your board book, I thought, well, the city of Virginia's got this in the bag. Because they're going to look at Evelyn's proposal. They're going to undercut them by $2 grand. And you guys are going to say, well, they're cheaper, we're going to go with them. But instead, this isn't what you asked them for. And I don't know how many times you got to ask, but for everybody in here who writes a check for your property tax, it's $20,000 for this year. Okay? Next year, it's only going to cost us $18,000 to $19,000 more. And then the year after that, then we're up to $21,000 more than what the current proposals are. Where is the money? Because I just watched the last meeting. You laid off paraprofessionals. You can't afford this one, can't afford that one. This is $20,000. And if you have the money somewhere, I don't know where it is, because every meeting is we can't afford it. Can't afford to winterize a school in Gilbert, so the pipes are going to blow up. You know, we can't afford this paraprofessional, so we're going to get rid of this one. If Virginia's cheaper, Virginia comes in with a proposal that says 72,000 for 500 hours, great, sign them up.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, Dr. Schmidt, we did not specifically ask the city of Virginia for a 250-hour proposal, correct?
No.
We asked them to reconsider their proposal.
Yeah.
Which was 500.
Yeah.
We didn't say 250.
150, 350 is what we.
The city of Alice was asked for the 50/50 and the 100%. I just want to know, because when you compare apples to apples, you need the same numbers. And this one here puts us at $95,000 for this year, just for this year.
Correct.
And the city's proposal from Evlith was 75.
So. Thank everyone for their comments. We'll now discuss under 6.1 and 2 together.
I'll start. I'll say that I think this has been frustrating for everyone. I don't think it's been frustrating for anyone. Certainly myself included, and I think most of us around the table probably feel the same way. And, it certainly isn't something, I mean, when our activities committee met on June 17th, we gave the directive to the administration that the proposal from Virginia, in our opinion, just the activities committee alone, was unacceptable, to go back to the city and to ask for another proposal where hockey would be split in some form between the minors and the hip. And it's really frustrating when I started calling around in early August to see what progress has been made. All I heard was, they don't want to talk to us. I guess we can't make them talk to us. And tried to get all the parties together in one room. I mean, not the elected officials. I don't believe we should be part of those meetings, but the administration from the respective cities, with a representative of youth hockey, and with the administration here, and try and work something out. And we still don't have that. We have two proposals in front of us that are diametrically opposed to one another. You look at, this year, if you go with the minimums, we got 250 hours from the city of Evlith, being proposed at $150 an hour all in. Mr. Quaternick is right. The one from Virginia is 350 hours at over $200 an hour. I'm a little disappointed that the Evlith, we were, talking about 150, and if you assume we need 500 hours, 150, 350 split comes very close to what Coach Johnson is asking for. Be 70-30, not 75-25. And I think some of that makes sense. I agree with Mr. Flatley that sometimes ice conditions at the hip are not up to the standards for high school hockey. I believe that can be, I don't think there's anything there that can't be, historically I think the hip has had good ice, and I still think they can have good ice. And to touch a little bit on, what Coach Terrell said, one of the big questions when I got on this board, and we talked first about the bonding referendum to get together and build facilities that I think are going to be the envy of the state, not just the region, once we get into them. Unfortunately, we aren't in them yet. And then to consolidate something that people said was long overdue and never would happen. You know, the question on where hockey specifically, because it's certainly a given. We know where we're going to play basketball in that beautiful new arena right there. We know where we're going to play football in a state-of-the-art football facility. I mean, these baseball and softball fields, I can't wait until people see them and how nice they are. But for better or worse, we didn't build a hockey arena when we built the rest of these facilities. And it would have been crazy to build a hockey arena, especially with a state-of-the-art facility coming up right across the bridge. But that question came up time and time again, both in meetings I was at in Evelyn, in Gilbert, in Virginia. Where are we going to play high school hockey when we're together? And the answer that I consistently got from the administration was, it's our intent to play in both communities. I think we'd be doing a disservice to both communities. And I think we'd be doing a disservice to our kids. Not just these fine young men and ladies who are here, but all our kids. If, as Coach Johnson says, there isn't time in one arena or the other to run our youth hockey programming. And there'll be very little time for that with the other demands on these facilities. So I think it's incumbent on us to work out a deal. And I can't, it's really frustrating where, you know, if you take these agreements on their face, we'd be paying $200,000 for ice next year. If we agree to both proposals as submitted, that's crazy. I don't think we can, because I think one has an exclusivity clause in it. So I guess with that, I would just, we need to figure this out. We need to start figuring out today. I was disappointed that we didn't take action last 3 weeks ago. I understand why we didn't. There were a lot of questions that were not answered and frankly are not answered right now. But we need to do something. We need to give people some clarity on what our intent is for the athletes that are in our program, along with their coaches and everyone else, and also for the youth hockey players and the other people who utilize these facilities. And frankly, I'm not ready to say it's 100% in one place or another. And but we can't, it's hard to act on these proposals because they contradict one another.
They don't make sense. They don't fit our needs.
And with that, just to get this thing off the dime, and I know that we don't have this being offered anywhere, but I would make a motion that we make a commitment to lease 150 hours at the Hippodrome at $150 an hour. I think that rate is very fair. That's the rate they've been charging the school for the last 11 or 12 years. Actually, it went up for a few years and then it came back down to the 150. And with the caveat that they accept that, and I would ask that our administration get together with the city of Virginia and to try and work out a one-year deal with them so we can get going, get some clarity as to what's going to happen with the season. And if we can't do that, then we have to look at our other options. But I would like to, and I don't know if 150 hours at $150 an hour would be acceptable to the city of Evelyn either.
That's what they're
proposal was, no, it wasn't. It was 150 hours at 125.
That was their initial proposal.
We've been, in the last 3 weeks, we've had 4 proposals. You would think that we have 4 arenas in the area, but both of them have changed it. So I just wanted to get clarification, Matt. You're saying 150 hours at the HIP and 350 at Virginia?
I'd say right now, just 150 at the HIP with the hopes that we would be able to negotiate to get 350 in Virginia on a 1-year deal with no commitments for exclusivity in the future.
Is there a second?
I'll support that.
We have a motion by Matt, second by Bill. So in essence, what we're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're saying 150 hours at Evelyn HIP for $150 an hour and 350 hours at
The MEC.
the MEC, the IMAC or whatever it's called.
Yes,
At $150 an hour.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I mean, it is,
But you're shooting for the 350.
the 350 hours, yeah, and things in this need to be looked at too. I mean, you know, I see, and it was in the old one and I thought it was out, but there's a clause in here, Article 7, users maintenance, that the school is responsible to cleaning up after games. And I don't know how that would work for our union, bargaining unit employees to go into another facility. And I mean, number one, it's crazy. I
And I
mean,
think that was removed in today's proposal.
It's in there.
In today's proposal?
Article 7.
Today's?
the one that was just, I picked up here,
What page? Could you tell me?
page 3, Article 7.
Okay.
I thought that was all.
Is there any other discussion on the motion on the table?
What happened to the $125 proposal we got last?
Well, that's what I said. We have 4 different,
We have 4 different proposals. Well, Evelyn's price went up $25 per hour since the last, you guys are, I'm not on activities. I'm just, last board meeting was 125. Virginia was 175. Now we're at 150. I'm not even sure where Virginia's at.
That was,
It's 150.
the rate for ice time in Evelyn has been $150 an hour since 2009, 2000.
Wasn't proposed at the last meeting.
Yes, they, I guess were willing to make a concession at that time. But I assume that deal's off the table because we got a new one.
You know, we had a lot of good speakers, but Fitz made a lot of sense when he said, we're here to look at the budget. Let's go back to Evelyn. Let's go back to Virginia. I don't know how many times we can play this game to negotiate
we're running
something. We're out of time.
We're running out. We've been out of time for a long time. We're holding everything up.
this should have been decided.
Okay, this Evelyn agreement says $125 per hour.
That's
Am I
probably
wrong on that?
the old one.
No, this is one right here, in here.
There's 2 of
It's
them.
the 50%.
Oh, was that the? Well, no, it's $125 an hour for each hour over 150.
Got it, okay.
It's $150 an hour up to the 150.
Got it. So I was listening to the Virginia Council meeting this morning, and it sounds like they were frustrated with us because what they would like to see is us give them a proposal of what we want. So why don't we do that?
That's what we're going to do right now.
Okay.
We have a motion on the table.
But we don't have, do we have a price or are we, or not?
We're going to give them a price.
Okay.
All right, but the new Evelyn proposal for 50%, a minimum of 250 hours per year is what they're asking for.
Yes, my motion was for 150.
And
Holly,
150.
what we're doing is, you can take all this stuff that we've got the last 4 weeks and use it for kindling.
Well,
And what we're going to do is tell them that we want 150 hours at the Evelyn Hippodrome at $150 each. $350 at Virginia. And I would like it to say at $150 each.
You know
You know what, that's fine.
I just, my thought is, it is a new facility. There are things there, as we heard. Frankly, I think the market is a little higher in Virginia. And
Well, the thing is, for me, I do want to look at the budget, but it isn't apples to apples. It's apples to oranges. I mean,
I agree.
the HIP is Golden Bears, you know, the mech is brand new. It has all the extras and it's Wolverines. So to me, it's not apples to apples.
And if it was all about, and I hear what Fritz said, you know, very clearly, but if we're strictly looking at the cheapest way to have a high school hockey team, our kids definitely deserve a lot better than that. And we could find a lot cheaper solution. And it'd be driving a little bit more every day, but we could find that solution.
Agreed.
If we're just looking specifically at the bottom line.
Agreed.
So how many total hours of game time and practice time? Is it 500 total, no matter where we go?
500, yep.
Okay.
Number we need.
500. And that is that divided into, it's just ice time, whether it's practice time or game?
Practice the game, boys and girls is 500.
And boys and girls?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I just want clarification from Virginia, because I thought I had heard that it was like $115 that they're saying. But then there was
$115 for
Right, and then there-
ice, but then there's 30,000 in add-ons between
Right.
locker rooms,
Okay.
training rooms.
And so then, like, the HIP doesn't have that, right?
The others
offering-
come with it, correct?
Okay, gotcha.
So when you average it all out, does it not come to $175 an hour for the Virginia proposal?
It's 207, the one that we were just handed right now.
Well, the figure that we spoke about last time would be, you throw everything into the pot. Yes, the ice time itself is less per hour, but with all of the other costs, it averages out to $175.
That's what the Virginia, that was,
All right, so that is a difference because there's not extra costs at the Hippodrome. So you have to understand that. And then the total cost is more for Virginia too. So we don't know, Evelyn gave us two proposals, 100% or 50%, and and for 250 hours, if our resolution is only 125 hours,
150.
150 hours,
Do we know what
Take it or leave it.
well, if they don't, then
I know, but it's-
depending on what they do and what the city of Virginia does, I mean,
but is that
we
part
might
of the?
have to go to,
Southeast, who knows?
Hoyle Lakes has good ice.
Is that part of the strategy here, is to take it or leave it for Evelyn Gilbert now? I mean, for the Evelyn City Council?
Well, we want to do what we want. I mean, our coach wants to do what we told the people before we did the referendum, like we said, we always said we're going to split. We don't have the option in the proposals that are given to us. We don't have what Coach Johnson wants to do in front of us. So we need to tell them, this is what we want to do.
Okay, another thing, you keep saying the referendum, I don't recall voting on this when I went to the voting.
No, we didn't. People asked about it all the time.
Perhaps, but that's not what we voted on. I'm just want clarification on that.
But it did come up often at all kinds of, at just about every public meeting it came up. And I know people supported our plan who otherwise would not have, because the fear was the little fish is going to get swallowed up by the big fish. That's why, in my opinion, this consolidation happened 20 years after it should have.
Okay.
But when you come to this agreement here, I mean, the two districts have been consolidated for quite some time. Here we are, 1 week before the season starts, and we're finally getting something from Virginia. 3 weeks ago, they gave us something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, don't listen. 3 weeks ago, they could have called a special meeting, okay, and had this done right away. As soon as they could have gave it to us, we could have had a special meeting, and we wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah.
I mean, I
wait,
can just see that this is just a complete dereliction of their board. I hate to say it, to get us something that's fair.
Yeah. No, well, we sent a letter to them, did we not?
Yes, we had discussions early on in the early part of the summer.
But I mean, after our last board meeting, we asked them for a proposal.
That's committee meeting.
Committee meeting.
After the committee meeting.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. So
See-
we asked them for it, and
Here we are, we just
here we
received
are
it.
here. So
Bill,
I think rather, myself is, I think that we have to tell them what we want and see if they will give it to us. Then they can blame it all on us, and we can all go about doing what we do, is educate the kids and have facilities for them, and they can go about exclusivity
And
another
there
time.
certainly is urgency to have an agreement. We do, I hope we have a activities committee meeting scheduled for early next week, that we can discuss about it there and see the proposals. But that certainly is what I would support.
Okay.
I would definitely like to see, I mean, now that the youth hockey program is also combined, that the city of Evlith would with a Hippodrome, make it a little more welcoming to the Virginia players of the teams and make it more Rock Ridge than it is Golden Bears or Maroon and Gold. Not, I mean, the history is the history of the Hip, and we all love that and cherish it and stuff, but
Absolutely. And
Concerned about the ice too. I don't like hearing that. That's a safety issue.
Is there any other discussion?
We don't know, we do not know for sure that the Evlith ice is unsafe. Okay, so.
I have heard
it is not on.
We've heard, I know.
I have
Anyhow,
heard
as far as the numbers go again, so if we pass this resolution for, is it 150 hours?
Yep.
And what's left, the balance of 500 is 350 hours.
Correct.
And so wouldn't it by default be like, well, of course Virginia's going to accept 350 because that's the balance of what we need of the 500. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, and I don't support this because it's not even any of these proposals. We have so many numbers flying around here, and I think part of the problem was, Bill, I understand Virginia did have meetings, but Evlith, Gilbert, Rock Ridge did not have types of meetings that Virginia did to discuss. Activities Committee met, but this never came to the full board to say, here's what we are wanting. We're talking about it now, but that's the cart before the horse, and the horse behind the cart. But anyhow, because I don't even know who had the authority to do a counterproposal to Virginia. This full board did not direct anybody to make a counterproposal to Virginia.
We did
No
not,
authority.
we did not ask them for a counter. We asked.
We made a counterproposal. And somebody made a counterproposal because that's when we rejected the three-year contract with Virginia. Then I saw a document where 3 years was crossed out and it's a 1 year and the hours were different. And so that was never a decision by this board. And I think that's part of the whole problem here. Things are happening without full board notification. And I've got minutes from the Evlith City Council meeting back in March, April, June, where this was all talked about. Now, all of a sudden, it's last minute and we're backed into a corner. Plus, in these minutes, it says the city council was informed that this was going to happen and all the games were going to be played in Virginia. Who decided that? And so that was.
That's never.
No one said that from us.
It's in the minutes of the
They can
council.
have that in the minutes, but nobody from this school.
That's my point. It didn't come, that type of talk did not come from this full board. Committees in our district do not have the authority to make proposals, make decisions.
We
make
understand that.
comments.
Do you have anything else you want to bring up?
I
And
think
just
this should
if-
be
if- I
tabled.
mean-
So screwed up.
On June 17th, the Activities Committee met, and we directed the administration we told them that, in our opinion, not speaking for the full board, but in our opinion, the proposal for 100% of hockey in Virginia starting this year was not going to fly. Please go and negotiate something that would be palatable to our board, and we never got a response.
And that's the problem, that you did not have the authority as an activities committee to direct the administration to do that. That should have been a full board discussion.
Anyone can do that.
No.
You could have called and told the administration, asked the administration.
We're not going to get into.
You're wrong, you're wrong. You're
Okay,
totally
fine.
wrong.
We can't bring every decision like that to the full board. That's, I mean, that's,
Committees can make those decisions.
Committees can make recommendations, and that's what they did.
That's right.
Yes.
With no further discussion, I would like to have a vote on the 150 hour at 150 and 350 hours at Virginia. All those in favor of that signify by saying aye.
That's, my proposal did not say 350 for Virginia.
And to go with, I'm perfectly fine with the 350 for Virginia. I mean, it has to be agreed upon by both of the respective city councils, or
we're back to square one.
we gotta go.
We're telling them what we would like,
Right.
talking with our coaches, talking with our athletic directors, talking with our administration. So all those in favor of that.
What rate of pay? What rate?
What hourly?
What hourly rate? And what total? Average?
I would trust the administration to negotiate that with the city of Virginia. We have the rate from the city of Evelyn that frankly I'm comfortable with.
Which could be renegotiated too.
Yeah, everything is.
At a 1 year deal? Are we doing this at a 1 year?
Yes, absolutely. That would be my recommendation. That's my motion.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
5-2, carried. Very good. Report 5.1.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Parkview Principal. Sheena.
He's gonna find the money now.
Since when were we laying off paras, teachers?
I don't think.
It was new to me.
No, well, you know. Yeah, they'll be courteous.
Okay, good evening, board members. Thank you for having me tonight. I have a tough act to follow there, but I don't take that long. Back to school time at Parkview is going great. We had phenomenal attendance at our open house. I think we're in the high 90s of attendance at our open house. Our first week at school was very busy. It went really well with the kids. It was kind of eerily quiet when you walked through the hallways because you expected the hustle and bustle, but it ran really smoothly, so that was nice. Busing, a little chaotic, I'll be honest, but it's because it was a change for us. We changed our school day because of the North Star being in the Evelyn Gilbert site. But the staff at the Parkview, the bus drivers, the transportation department, Bob Voss, they've all just been so flexible and willing to work through it. We've actually changed our end of the day busing 3 different times. And I don't mean like a little change. I mean like Sheena went in the next day and made a significant change. And I think we finally have it rolling pretty smoothly. So I just have to give a shout out to especially the transportation and the teachers for being so flexible with that. And then I'd like to also give a shout out to Kimmy Christensen or Dickinson at the Freeze in our Parkview PTA, because we did a Stuff the Bus pack in July for the Parkview, and that was extremely successful. I know we got cash donations from businesses. I know we got donations from families and community members, and we've used all of that kind of stuff. I shouldn't say we've used it all because we have it in storage for when we need it if we haven't used it all, but we've used that for the kids that needed supplies or different things that we've needed at the Parkview for the students. So picture day is coming up for us. I think like every building you want to get those kids pictures in. And then the new staff, they're just adjusting and fitting in very nicely. Some new paras, some new early childhood staff. So as far as early childhood news, I know that they have ECFE kickoff events happening this week. In fact, Laurentian is tomorrow for ECFE and Parkview is on Wednesday from 5 to 6 for those families. I know that Shannon Cush has those Cook's Country Connections coming up with their animals. She has some teacher meet and greets going on for all those early childhood families, so that'll be fun. School Readiness is gearing up to start next week. They have their orientation on Monday. Kids will start full-time in on Tuesday, so we'll add those to our lists at Parkview and at Laurentian. ECFE classes don't start till the week of the 26th for those littles. But I know Shannon said to mention her events calendar. I just mentioned a few of the things coming up because she has a ton coming up in September and October, but she has that posted on the website. She got Stacy's help to do that. So if people want to look at the future activities they have going on for ECFE or School Readiness, it's up there. And then she said the childcare visits and the family, friends, and neighbor events will start at the end of September as well. Both of those activities are things that we do in partnership with that Quad Cities Coalition and with the help of the Northland Foundation and some grants that Shannon has written for. So with that, like I said, Parkview is going very well, and I appreciate your time tonight if you don't have any questions.
Any questions for Sheena?
I can't think of one thing to put her on the spot.
Come on, Tom. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5.2, Mr. Speltz.
Hello.
Hola.
Kind of bummed we moved those people. They could have heard this awesome presentation and we might have had some more money come in. I thought, look at this new audience. Just teasing. I think we talked about it last time. I'm going to go over this. You guys have a lot on your mind and some things probably to get some people to contact because time is of the essence on that, being an old athletic director, just being old. Thanks, Stace. The Virginia Community Foundation, we talked about their kind donation last time for $5,000, so thank you to them, again to them. I can't remember where we landed on that. Ed and Peggy Benach, a donation of $5,000 to our Rock Ridge Rising Fund for playground equipment at Laurentian via the Golden Bear Fund. Special thanks to the Golden Bear Foundation for working with us as the fiscal agent again to receive this beautiful donation. And Ed is a proud grad, in his words, of Lincoln Elementary and Eveleth High School. So thank you, Ed and Peggy Benach, for that great donation. It's already been put to use, so thank you very much. Eric Kishel, thank you very much. A donation of $1,500 for the Aquatic Center video scoreboard in honor of the Virginia High School class of 1981 swim team. Thank you, Mr. Kishel. I know Eric very well, and they're actually mobilizing their whole group. They had quite a swim team there in the early 80s at VHS. And thank you to Kirk Widener, kind of the lead on this, getting that class of 81 for carrying the torch and to say, and getting his classmates and fellow swimmers to consider these donations to this awesome Aquatic Center video scoreboard. So thanks, Eric Kishel and Kirk Widener and that group. Special thanks to Bob Horvat for $1,000. Beautiful donation from Bob. Bob is a VHS class of 1988, and I played hockey with Bob all the way up. Great guy, and his mom, Barb Horvat, was a longtime secretary, if you recognize that name, at Roosevelt with me while I was a principal there. Going to a couple things here. We had the Golden Bear Foundation, represented by Gordy Cotagelli, and the Virginia Community Foundation, which is the Wolverine Fund, and the Rock Ridge Education Fund, represented by Holly Lundgren, come and speak to our entire staff at the Welcome Back at the first day of school workshops, where we're trying to inform everybody of these opportunities to give, and most important, these opportunities to request. These are three groups that are going to bat for us, for Rock Ridge Public Schools. They are funds that are accessible by our staff, by our school district. So thank you to everybody involved with those three funds. And thank you, Gordy and Holly, for coming to speak that day. That was very good. They explained how their funds can be accessed. Special thanks to them and everyone involved. It is quite amazing that we have such good people out there going to work just for us, for our school district, for our kids. And then it is our kids. So thank you to everyone who kindly gives to those great funds too. Thank you very much. Change hats. I've already started scheduling our Wednesday speakers in our career exploration classes. Many new additions this year of alumni wanting to be speakers, people I have been reaching out to. They want to come and speak, so I look forward to that. They all feel this is a great idea, a great opportunity, and they commend us on our forward thinking and energy to get this program running so smoothly through the academy model. So thanks to the career exploration teachers this year for their collaboration. It's kind of a new thing for a couple of them as the teachers have changed. I hope you saw the awesome news story on the opening day of Laurentian Elementary done by our own alum at WDIO, Renee Pasal. Thanks, Renee, for that. This piece was done very well. And the lead story, even the walk-up story, the lead story that night, the opening of Laurentian. So again, thanks, Renee and WDIO for that. Also, a huge thank you to everyone who read the article in the Mesabi Tribune. Thank you, Mesabi Tribune, about the Rock Ridge Rising campaign that I'm here tonight talking about. And they did reach out. You know, the Mesabi Tribune was kind enough to reach out because they saw the great things that were happening from all the alumni and all the groups and all the stuff that we're talking about here. And I do appreciate them doing that article because the hashtag Rock Ridge Rising Fund got another nice big hit from that article going out there, because then we can share it, then we can move it around, and it always ignites and reignites opportunities. So a very special thank you to everyone who has already given to our Rock Ridge Rising campaign and those who are considering. You are all very much appreciated. That's it, gang.
Thanks, Willie.
Thank you.
We should say that there's a golf event coming up for the Golden Bear Foundation.
Let's do it. What do you got? Golden Bear Foundation fundraiser.
Wolverine Fund in the Golden Bear Foundation.
Right, well, I'll hit on that, right. The
That's
Golden
right.
Bear Foundation is what? Getting ready to host a golf tournament.
Golf event at the Virginia Golf Course.
Now, look at that. Hold on. Look at that. Which group?
Next weekend, isn't
And
it?
where?
Saturday,
How
coming
beautiful is that?
Saturday.
It is a week from this Saturday.
It's Saturday.
This
correct?
Saturday. Wonderful.
Phil Drobnik would be the guy to get a hold of.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's great.
Drobnik.
And you can
So
let
we
me
may
know
benefit
if you
from
don't
the
know how to get
Drobnik
hold of
Open.
Phil.
Is that what we're saying? We may benefit from the Drobnik Open?
Yep, they made it a gold fundraiser for the foundation.
Great. Thank you to the Drobnik family for doing that. I know they have an annual, so it's probably inside their annual.
Correct.
Going to give the money, or often, or much of the benefits will go towards the Rock Ridge schools.
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you, Drobnik family. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, gang. Thank you.
Thank you, Willie. Do you want to come up, Bob?
Yeah.
You're up. Transportation update.
We started the school year, and I think Dr. Schmidt would know it. I was a little bit more worried about this than maybe I needed to be, but I was in his office every other day. I was really, really worried how this was going to come off, but things really actually went very well. The first morning, students coming to school, if my phone isn't ringing, I know things are going okay. It really didn't ring that morning very much at all. The afternoon, however, didn't go so well. And what happened there, it came down to how elementary schools were loading the kids, and we just weren't used to that. And that's just a thing that's going to take time, and it's gotten much better. That's kind of what holds the buses up, is the student load time at the school. So we're working on that. Like I said, things are going real well. I've got 13 routes north of the bridge and 9 routes that are south of the bridge. Had to actually add 1 bus on each side for capacity issues. I really thought that the buses were going to be loaded, and they actually turned out not to be that way. The ride times are longer. They're about 20 minutes longer, in some cases a little bit longer. It's just because some of the buses have bigger in-town routes before they start heading to Tower or out to out on Wilson Road, way out on Wilson Road by Mackinac. I was just really kind of curious on what was, how many students were assigned on buses. And as of today, I just looked at the elementary schools. Laurentian has about 81% of its students assigned to a bus. Parkview has about 76%, And North Star has 87%, which I kind of expected because parents aren't driving their kids as much as they could when it was on Fifth Avenue in Virginia. So the buses have a little bit more Roosevelt kids on them, the old Roosevelt kids. North Star Transportation, which is not affiliated with us, that's the name that they picked, which is the old Brown Transportation. They got off, they got their wheels rolling last week. I wanted to say thank you to Dr. Schmidt and to Spencer for finishing that project and the contracting on that. They're super nice people. They've got about 25 vans out there running for us right now. They were able to retain most of the former employers' people, so those people didn't lose their jobs. So that was a plus. Are there some challenges? Yes. Yes. Some of the challenges are the ride times are a little bit longer, but those are going to get better as time improves. The load times are a little bit longer because it's a new way of loading kids at almost all of the schools, which Sheena and her staff have been really good, and so has Angie up there. And Scott's real easy to work with down at the other school. So that's been going real well. I had to move in residential property, in residential areas, I moved most of the bus stops to street corners, so that there was really not much more than a 10-minute walk to stop for students. Some accepted, some don't. Parents have generally been pretty darn good about it, so that seems to be going okay. And like I said, the ride times are a little bit longer, but as time goes on, that's going to improve. Do I expect a bus ride to improve 20 minutes? No. Probably 5 to 10 minutes, it may. So that's kind of where we are in transportation.
And in 1 year, you get to start it all over again.
I was just going to say that. He has.
Actually, I spent 10 months on this project. It's going pretty good. I'm going to start now on next school year. I started at Thanksgiving last year. I'm going to start in October because it's just a whole new way of thinking now. So,
he told us the first day went off pretty well. I went to visit him. He didn't get many calls because he had a new phone number.
Yeah.
What is that number?
I know. Yeah.
And it was off.
Yeah. Any questions?
What's
the new phone? No, we don't want to.
I do.
The phone number's the same one.
Is it?
742-3969.
There was a few, email that I think all the board members got. Hopefully you were able to see that and get resolved with that issue.
I pretty much tried to call I make sure that before I leave for the night, I call every parent I can possibly call. I call only up till 7 o'clock, but I don't want to call them after 7 o'clock, but I do answer the emails the best that I can. So I don't want to leave anybody hanging out there. There was one or 2 days when I just couldn't get them up, but I didn't want to call that late, so.
Well, you still have your hair. Thank you.
I still do.
Yeah.
There are anomalies with the buses, and there are families that have extenuating circumstances. Some of them have to do with split families and, different residences that may be the registered home residence, but they're staying with the other parent another time and having trouble getting their kids transported. So I can't imagine that that's a whole lot of people, but.
More than you think.
Oh, well.
It is. It is quite a few people.
So how much?
I try to accommodate parents where we possibly can. Sometimes I just can't, but I tried to go the extra mile to accommodate where I possibly could.
So are you speaking of, though, accommodating with the existing routes that we have, or some special transportation?
With the existing routes that we have.
Because I'm wondering if we couldn't look at and maybe work something out for some special circumstances and special rides, maybe, having another route for all of these odd situations, so we can take care of those parents and those children too, because we certainly don't want to lose them to other districts, and I think we have in some instances. And I would just be curious to know how much it would cost and how much more time or people that we might need to work out some of those situations and just, instead of just saying, no, we can't do it, period, done.
I don't think I have never said that actually to a parent, that no, we can't do it. It depends though. I mean, if you're in a place, I mean, if you're picking an all, we will transport you to your resident address. But if you want an alternate address that is way somewhere out that we don't even go, it's very hard for us to.
So Bob, it was like this.
I'm not.
It was like this. There's a family that lives in Tower. Okay, they go to the school. They go to Roseville through open enrollment. Obviously, family is a split family. That person lives in Gilbert. Through open enrollment, before, you know what I'm saying? Until last year, when we changed the attendance boundaries, now that person who's split family, that kid has to go to
North Star.
To North Star, okay? But they won't come to Gilbert because, you know what I'm saying? The bus won't come to Gilbert and bring that kid to North Star. So it won't go to the Laurentian. Okay? So it was a Facebook post that I read. I try not to get involved in that, but if you figured that out, or, I mean, the attendance boundaries are what they were.
Yeah, I talked to that parent.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't.
Then I need not say no more.
But the other one was a little bit closer. It's not Tower, and it's another situation like that where the home district is in Fail, the other parent is in
Midway.
Yeah. And they cannot get a ride up the hill to the Laurentian.
Right.
Now, to me, that seems like we could work something out for that. And there are other calls that we've gotten.
If I do that, you're going to open the door to other stuff.
No, but I might want to open the door for a special bus route to accommodate those. And maybe it would just be one Suburban or one van or maybe a small bus and one driver. And it might cost us a little bit more, but I think we need to try and accommodate if we have to add some kind of a specialized bus route to look at it and
I think if you bend that rule, you are going to be busing kids all over the place, and then your attendance boundary idea
is shot.
And I guess I need to look at it, the attendance.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to know how many kids from Midway go to Laurentian, because for proximity wise, even though it's Virginia, they're so much closer to Laurentian. So I'm just curious.
I can't tell you.
Yeah, I got it. But it does seem weird that it's so close and yet they can't get to.
And that was always my point, is that we should have, I know it's water over the dam, but because you mentioned it, and you weren't on the board then, that we should have attendance boundaries according to proximity, the closeness to a school, not other things about filling up a percentage of another school because it had a less percentage capacity than another school. We'd be saving money on that, we'd be saving mileage, we'd be saving time, we'd be saving possibilities for accidents, but we didn't do that. And
But if we look specifically at proximity to the schools, the Laurentian isn't nearly big enough to handle. That's why we had to do it. My understanding is, my understanding is
it would have been 90%
room at the Laurentian.
No, it would have been 90% full, but then the North Star would have been less.
I think we're getting off the topic here, and that's a topic for a.
I mean, specifically, it was the kids in Midway.
Right.
And if we put them in the Laurentian, then it would have been busing other kids from other parts of the attendance
That's not true.
area.
Well, Noel stood up because I know he wants to answer something here.
Like, I stand up when one or two of you are like looking right at me. And this is something that came up. We talked extensively about this. We had a whole study about where to put them, and Midway was a big question mark. And the reality is they do not all fit in the new Laurentian. If you do that, we could have put them in there, we talked about this, but then we'd have to be busing kids from the south end of Fail Township past Laurentian and putting them into North Star. And that didn't make sense for most people. So it's working out for the vast majority of parents, but as you know, it is not working out perfectly for split family households. And we are telling those, like Bob is saying, we will go to the address on record and we'll work with you if we can have a bus by the other one. And if you can get the kid to the bus, to the school, that works out. But sometimes a parent can't do that. And sometimes in life, you don't get everything you want. That sounds harsh, and you don't have the drivers to pull this off. Even if you tell me, we want, Bob Noel, we want you to do this, you don't have the drivers.
Yeah.
Well, we might have to hire more. We took on some
We
casual.
would love to hire them.
I would just say in the future, as time goes on and we get settled into all our new schools and we find out, you know, that, hey, Laurentian's not full or enrollment has declined that much, okay, that you would go back and you'd reconsider the attendance boundary with Midway with a survey. You know, I couldn't see many parents saying, I don't want my kid to go to Laurentian. I would honestly find that very.
I believe, didn't the Midway parents say they wanted to go
Most
to
of the
Parkview?
Midway parents said they wanted to go to Parkview and North Star because that's what they're used to going to, their friends are. Most of the parents said that.
Well, that's a temporary situation. And again, I want to clarify that part of the discussion was what percentage was the Laurentian going to be filled and what percentage would the new North Star be filled? And part of that Midway situation was to increase the percentage of filledness of the North Star. I think Laurentian was going to be at about 90% capacity, but the North Star was going to be a little bit less. So that was part of the balancing, but it didn't make a financial sense to me.
The way I recall it is that you can't split Midway in half.
You could.
So, yeah, we'll split it in half, and the people on the left.
Not
side-
even-
We're off.
We're off subject here, and I'd like to thank you, Bob, for everything you do, because I know it isn't easy, because I fielded a couple of calls myself. And the parents asked the question, I asked you about it, I told them that we couldn't accommodate them, and they said that they could live with it.
So did they open enroll somewhere else?
No, they're going to school here.
Well, I'd be interested if some left our district because of transportation.
So one last question, Bob. How many drivers are you short?
If you gave me 4 or 5 drivers right now,
You'd be.
feel happy.
Bob really had a first day of school. He couldn't spend the morning in his office to field calls. He was on a bus talking on a phone because he's short a driver.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are finally,
Getting to the.
we're getting to 5.4 superintendent. You're here.
I'm here. Thank you, members of the board. I'm going to slightly change my order because I've asked Danny and Christy, who have been very kind, patiently waiting over there. I've asked them to come here and talk a little bit about the Arrowhead Center, just for an informational update. It's related to the opening of the school year. So first I'm going to talk about enrollment, where we're at right now. And you have the numbers. This is what Spencer looked at. And the short story in this, you probably heard about all these parents who were afraid the bridge was going to collapse. I don't want to go over it. The ride is too long. I don't want to go over there. I don't know where the Franklin School is. I don't want to go over there. I don't know what's going to happen at Laurentian. I don't know where there. I don't want to have my kid go over Highway 53. I don't want to go over there. All of these stories about what parents and some kids you were hearing that they were not willing to do. So Spencer ran numbers, and he bases his budget that you talked about in the spring on the numbers. Well, lo and behold, Spencer looks at the numbers, and he was off by less than 0.05% in his guess. So you have 17 more students as of today than what Spencer budgeted for. This is a good thing. So people want to send their kids to Rock Ridge. People want to send their kid to North Star. People want to send their kid to Laurentian. And they want to send their kids to Evelyn Gilbert High School and Virginia High School, even though they're separate. The data and the numbers are clearly showing that. This great calamity that some soothsayers may have been saying, it never happened. What that is telling me is that people trust you. They trust the Rockridge School District. They like where the direction of the district is going. They like the direction that the buildings are going, and they are continuing to send their kids here. and they are continuing to send their kids here actually at a little higher rate than what Spencer had predicted them. Couple interesting things on the numbers. You'll see that where were some decision points, and they're about exactly where you would have predicted them from. The grade 3, that's down probably 9 kids, more than any other grade level. And if you think about it, that's when Parkview would have gone to Roosevelt or North Star. That's when the Parkview kids go to
Franklin.
North Star. Franklin, yes. Franklin, North Star. We talked to both way, Franklin or North Star, but North Star. And so we did lose some kids in the transition, but in the whole district, we picked them up, plus some, especially at the high school level. So even though there's 2 high schools and they're not together, you gain kids overall at the high school.
Okay, so I know you're saying this is the projection. Do we lose kids from last year? Do we lose? I mean, that's what's floating around. I mean, I'm trying to get just clear on this. So did we lose from last year to this year and just gain in his projection what he thought? Or are we just up overall?
Virtually, yes. Virtually all schools in Minnesota are losing kids from the end of the school year to the start of the next school. Because kids, because of the pandemic, they're a little bit more going.
Do we know what that number is?
Yes, I'll have Spencer tell you, look that number up.
Thank you.
So you can see what the.
Thank you. I'd love to know that, yes.
And we are looking up the numbers because we have been asked to provide that information. So Spencer is looking for it. So at the next board meeting, we'll have those numbers for you.
Thank you.
And not only those numbers, I've requested before, and I think it would be interesting for all board members from the start of consolidation and what monthly and, yearly, it's only been 2 years, what our enrollment has been since consolidation.
We're going to do better than that, Director Sorkin. We're going to go back to 2010.
Perfect.
And we're going to show you the long-term trend as far as what's happened and where we're at.
Because didn't we have a loss of 265 and then another 50? Not too many reports ago?
I guess if I might kind of piggyback on that question, we were down and we were projecting an additional loss of 50. Was that his budgeted number? So we lost.
That's what Spencer, you budgeted for.
It was another negative 50.
He was assuming we were going to lose those. Because we want to be conservative on the budget.
Yep.
That's what he budgeted for. And that's what you base your decisions on in the spring on the budget.
And we didn't lose that many.
Very good.
Okay, next thing up, and Annie Crispy, just a few more minutes, then you're the stars of the show. Couple things, just want to talk to you about, topic came up earlier about why are we spending so much on advertising. I know we're going to talk about that at another board meeting, but this isn't necessarily advertising, but it is. We gave you 2 copies of things that Stacy, who's hiding behind the camera over there, she's really good. I have to give her a lot of kudos and credit. She is creating these. She's in charge of the district's Facebook, Instagram account. And so because the parents are not necessarily all looking on the website, they're going to Facebook, they're going to Instagram. It's not the same way as it was 20 years ago. And so we have shifted accordingly. And so she is in charge of those. You can see some examples of some things she has put out. And you can see some examples of the numbers. We're talking thousands of people are looking at our Instagram and looking at our Facebook pages. That's really where they're going to get a lot of information. And in addition to that, because up here, people read the newspapers, and we'll talk more about this the next part, we do run a lot of information in the Hometown Focus. We do run a lot of information in Manny Shopper. We do run a lot of information in the Mesabi Tribune. And you have to think about it in these terms, is that if we get 1 student as a result of this, $10,000. So some districts print out 50-page glossy brochures, flyers. They mail it to all the residents in the district, spend $100,000 on it, and call it a day. We don't do that. We send things out on a regular basis. so people know what's happening, so people have an idea what's happening with the high school, the elementary, and you're probably one of the only districts that the parents probably can articulate to you some of the curriculum areas that we're going into, because if you're looking at any one of those newspapers, you cannot avoid us. You can't avoid us. And we want that message out there, because this is not about fancy buildings. It's about the curriculum and the education that kids are receiving. So we just want to update the board and show you some of the things, and Stacy does some cute things with top 10 sites, posts that people went to, and you can see what they are, and take a look at how that goes. So I just want to inform the board of that. In addition, before we get to Danny and Christy, I want to talk about the North Star groundbreaking ceremony coming up. Yes, it's time to do it for North Star also. We did it for Laurentian, we did it for the high school, so we're going to do it for North Star. This will be next Thursday, the 22nd, at 4 o'clock. All of the board members are invited. All of the folks watching at home on camera are invited. We will have a brief program. Because it is a construction site, we're going to do it not in the construction site, but just outside door between, it's called door 2, the courthouse side. We'll have a ceremony right on the courthouse side on the school sidewalk area. So that's where we'll be. We'll invite some dignitaries, some kids. We'll have some kids doing singing, national anthem and another song. We'll have cookies. That's important because it's a big deal. You should be proud of your groundbreaking ceremony. This is a big event. And so we'll have a ceremony. We will keep it maybe a little bit shorter because we're not set up for chairs. We maybe have some for folks who need chairs, but we'll try and keep it a little more on the brisker side, just because most folks will be standing probably because of the nature of what's happening on there. So just telling the board, groundbreaking ceremony, 22nd, 4 o'clock at the site of the old Roosevelt on the courthouse side. That's where we'll be. Last thing is I'm going to mention this. I'm going to mention because I know it's the Laurentian bus pickup. And you heard Bob say a little bit, it was tough. The first day of the Laurentian bus pickup was tough. Parents were there. That line went all the way down the hill, probably to White Cedar Drive. That's how long that line was. It was long. And it was, since that time, I was there on Friday, 3:04, everybody was gone. There was no line. The buses were there when the kids were getting out. There was no wait. Angie had some people positioned to help parents understand how the line works, because it's a little different, and you can't just stop your car, get out of it, and walk away from the vehicle in the middle of the road. So we had systems set up. Mike is going to have someone come by and stripe an area, so it's much more clearer on the parent pickup line. And so, yes, it's the opening day. People aren't used to anything up there. So Angie and the teachers did a great job. Boss and Mike was also instrumental, and they got that thing down within 4 days. They had all the kids out of there at about the 12, 13-minute mark. Other than 2 parents who were deliberately waiting there for something else. So I just want to let you know about that. Last thing I want to talk about is our guests who have been so kind and gracious sitting over there. I had a conversation with them 3-4 months ago from the Arrowhead Center, and I asked them to come to the board meeting. It is related to the beginning of the year, just for them to tell you what they do and some thoughts that they have on us, because we do have some range mental health services with our kids. That is separate from what Arrowhead Center does. So there might be something that's possible that we could work out for our kids. So Danny and Christy, would you like to come up here and dazzle the board and tell them what Arrowhead Center does, who your clients are, and maybe what you're thinking, or maybe possibilities for down the road? Yes. This is the handout there brought with them.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christy Drescher. I'm the Operations Director at the Arrowhead Center.
Hi, I'm Danny Spillert. I'm the Executive Director at the Arrowhead Center. And the reason we initially spoke to Dr. Schmidt was because we were approached by Cassandra Haney when she was working, I don't know if she still is, under the Substance Abuse Prevention Grant, to see if we could expand services into Rockridge. We have been in the operating an actual legit treatment center and operating billable treatment center in the NLC, ALC for 5 years?
5 years now.
Which has been running pretty flawlessly, aside from it being the NLC, ALC. And so she had asked if we could look at expanding similar services into Rockridge. It comes at no cost to you guys. We were looking at maybe some startup costs that we would have to look for granting. However, one of the concerns that we had talked about was how we would work with Range Mental Health. And we have met with them several times, and Anne Marie gave the okay to share with that they are actually willing to pick up the funding from their grant money for us to expand services into Rockridge. So not only would we have an operating MOU to work with them, but it would benefit them under their federal granting. So in turn, they would share that federal granting money with us, which is incredibly helpful because a lot of the services that we have offered in area schools are not billable services like substance abuse education. We had a very successful support group running out of ERADS for a couple years for kids that have substance abuse problems in their home. We had an average attendance of 14 for the whole year. So that was a really big deal because it was voluntary. So we have been doing some comprehensive assessments in the school for the last year. And we would be able to just streamline that process a little bit better. We could do support group services, which are not billable. We could do substance use treatment services, which are billable services. So we would bill kids' insurance plans. If they don't have insurance, the county would pick up the tab for them. That part's the big move. I mean, we would have to really get established, and because that involves the state of Minnesota and licensure and all that kind of stuff. We can do telehealth services. We can do substance abuse education. We've done education groups with parents before and the community. And the whole goal is to just minimize. We've got a huge adolescent substance abuse problem in our area that's just kind of unaddressed. When we were running after school treatment, we were running about 6 kids on average.
Transportation was an issue at that time.
And once they're done with school for the day, they're gone. That's sayonara. So when we can catch them when they are in school, we have a very good retention rate. So that's what we are looking at this year, because you guys are kind of in transition. I think we would just be kind of when you needed us, more than a permanent type of service, but we would be looking for a goal, an ultimate goal of having a permanent space in new facilities so we can actually open operating treatment. The state of Minnesota does give credit for operating treatment. They can get a partial health credit and a partial English credit for participating. So it's a good study hall alternative, and they can pick up a little bit of credit too. You have stuff. Money's her problem, so.
No, I don't. Does anyone have any questions in regards?
I do. When you talk about billable services, I know something about it. I don't know if everybody knows the difference. And you did talk about it being billed against insurance of parents. Some of them it could be, some could be Medicare, Medicaid, and everything. But the state of Minnesota, different states operated differently, but in Minnesota, does that go against a parent's deductible or copay? So
It's the service is billed no differently from them going to the clinic. So if a parent has a $15 copay, it's a $15 copay for treatment.
We don't turn kids away though. So if the parent says, nope, you're not billing my insurance for this, we'll figure it out.
And that was part B of my question, is that no entity or agency can override a parent saying, I don't want this to go against my deductible, that it's their choice.
Yep.
Some states it's not like that.
When the kid is actually at 14, they can consent to treatment on their own.
14, okay.
But they can't consent to billing the parent's insurance. So if the parent doesn't allow it, which happens frequently enough, we do have a working agreement with United Way. They can help defray some of those costs. And the state of Minnesota through St. Louis County will cover them almost entirely if we don't have parent consent to bill.
And so what I'm a big thing on parental consent and everything. Can they get services without parental consent?
If they're over 14.
Okay, over 14.
We usually, our general rule is 16. In most cases, we won't, 14, 15, that feels a little bit young, so, but we'll look at it. I mean, a lot of times if you've got a 14-year-old that wants to come to treatment and they don't have parental consent, we've got a social worker involved at that point anyway.
And then how might this or might not it tie in with a school-based clinic if our Rockridge went that route?
I guess we're flexible, how any of that works.
And Range Mental Health and, I don't know, out of the nurse's office, and I just wondered if that's part of the future plan.
As we move forward, it would be a conversation that we would have to have with everybody involved, because for us to operate a treatment center, our room has to be licensed. So it's a licensed room. Right now at the NLC, our room is licensed, and it's only for that because the state of Minnesota says that's what we have to do.
And what does that mean, a licensed room and not a licensed person?
Licensed room.
So even if it's a 10 by 10 corner of a building, we have to have a set spot in order to license. If we don't have a set spot, we can't license. However, we can do some satellite services.
Okay, whatever that licensing requirement is, you need to have that.
Yeah, if we're gonna be billing insurance, we need to have that for a primary program. We can do satellite services and other facilities without that. So the state would allow us to do like one treatment group a week.
Could you, just to quickly explain what the importance of having a licensed room is?
That's out of our hands.
That's the
That
question
one's
for the state of Minnesota. That's
yeah,
their requirement.
I mean, they worked with us. They were pretty flexible with us as we did that with the NLC. But that's just one of their little things that they just.
What does that mean though? What are they looking for in the room? Like
they want a room that nobody can just like drift in and out of, essentially.
Okay.
It's a HIPAA. It's mostly a HIPAA concern.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they want it's a privacy situation. Like we can't put treatment outside of the door because that would allow every other kid to know that it's a treatment room, even though every kid knows it's a treatment room and they understand that. We can't use the word.
Okay.
Very good. Is there any other questions?
I have none.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to say, the former Evelyn Gilbert District did have contracts with the Arrowhead Center.
Yep.
Yeah, it works.
Shelley
very well.
Scalco worked for many, many years, but I just didn't know that went away.
Well, it didn't actually because it wasn't utilized for many years. But 2 years ago, we had some kids pop up that got caught smoking that were like, we can't play unless you give us a class. We're like, we don't know what you're talking about. Because that was before our time. So we got to figure it out for them. And
Then evidently the former Virginia did not have a relationship with Arrowhead Center.
there was no contract. They've just always called us. And
Okay.
we've drifted in and out of the building as they need us. But like I said, we've met pretty extensively now with Anne Marie, the CEO of Range. And it would be helpful for them as well to have us around, so.
Sounds like a good collaboration.
We are in full support and have the need. because they don't have enough staff to
Wonderful.
cover that.
So members of the board, don't be surprised if we'll talk some more, if down the road, there's not some kind of proposal for you to look at, and for your consideration.
All right.
Look forward for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now on social media update.
I think we already had that.
We've already had that.
Oh.
We've had all, we're on 6.3.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
And this is just going to be a presentation, no action will be taken, so.
Fortunately, you have a featured speaker who is here to answer all of your questions about how this might work, what it involves. I asked Sheena to be here, she graciously volunteered. She apparently does not watch Monday Night Football, and so she would much rather be here with you folks. So Sheena, could you maybe explain to the board what this is, how it works, because it's different now with the YMCA, and then answer any questions they might have.
For sure. So this started back probably the end of May. I was contacted by Amanda Matson, who has been coordinating the YMCA after school care for a few years now on the old Virginia side. And when Amanda talked to me at that time, that's when the YMCA was kind of not knowing what was going to happen. When they realized that the Duluth YMCA was taking over the after school care portion of it, they again contacted me because I had it at Parkview. I sat down and met Scott Manny, and I actually sat down and met with Amanda and two of the head people from the Duluth YMCA and talked about if there was still a need for the after school care. And I said, well, of course there's a need for our students to have some sort of care after school. What would this look like? She talked about it remaining the same and what it had looked like in the past. It's just under the Duluth YMCA. And at that time, it was different. Evelyn Gilbert had their, at former Bear Care, I think it's called Cub Care now, and the Virginia side always had their YMCA after school care. So when we had talked about it and knowing that the community education was taking over the Cub Care, I said, this is a little bit out of our hands. We're going to hand it over to Chad Hazelton and Josh Lampa. When Amanda met with them in August when they were meeting, it was decided at that time that in order to change this over to a community ed type of a situation and to get the staff and everything, because we would have to hire our own staff, and we struggle with that, finding that it was going to be something that we couldn't look at this moment because we knew we needed the care for our kids. The fire was going out, the parents needed to know what they were doing at their kids. So we decided that it was going to be under the YMCA care at least for this year, and we, as the year went on, we're going to look at it. That is why you have that proposal in front of you. It is no different than what the kids have received in the past. It's the same exact system, the same exact leaders, the same exact staff that they've had. A little bit different this year would be that the the North Star kids are coming over to the Parkview. They have done that in the past, but not the recent past. Last year, the North Star or the Roosevelt kids went to the YMCA. That building is closed, so they had nowhere to go unless we held the after-school care at the Roosevelt. But they're coming to the Parkview so that if there's a parent that has a Parkview kid and a North Star kid, they don't have to make the two stops. Any kid that's in after-school care from the old Virginia side of our district is all going to be in one place.
So Laurentian has something else. They have the Cub thing that they do. Okay.
Our goal is to have both of our sides of the district to run under community education. And quite honestly, the reason that didn't happen this year, or it hasn't happened, is because of time. We didn't have the time to get that up and running appropriately how we needed to.
And so this is only Virginia, so like other districts can they come or no? It's just Virginia district.
Just Virginia kids, yes. And I say Virginia kids, not as in Virginia Public Schools kids. I'm talking about the Virginia side of our district. So if you went to North Star or you went to the Parkview, that after-school care is open to you.
So what do the Laurentian parents and students pay for cub care, bear care? What's the capacity for bear care?
Okay, you're getting out of my expertise, but I will tell you, I know that it's $4 an hour for the cub care. I don't have numbers on capacity because that's Josh and Chad. And
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there would be some Laurentian parents that would like their children to go to the new Duluth Y after school care, and are allowed to or not allowed to.
how are they going to get there?
Be bused, just like the new North Star kids at the Old Franklin. It's not very far away.
I know, but we don't, that's like crossing I'm gonna give you quotes, the boundary. Tell them it's that imaginary line, because technically North Star is our Virginia side of the upper elementary.
But as far as distance-wise and busing, the Old Franklin is very close to the new Laurentian in proximity. And so I've already had some questions asked about what about the Laurentian families and the Laurentian students? It looks like that they're not, it's not for them, and they're not going to be allowed to be part of it.
Well, it's for the Rockridge students, but if it's after school care because their parents can't get them, we just didn't have that busing option. I guess it's not open to Mountain Iron.
No, I know. I'm talking about our Rockridge, but just different school buildings.
But we don't know if anyone from Laurentian really wants to go to it either.
We don't know, but
they have their own after school care option.
But
Well, let's just hope that someday it can all be
Capacity.
called the same thing and,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, so we can be.
You want me to call
closer
it cub care? I'm happy to do it. I mean, it's after school care, no matter how you look at it for them. And our goal, like I said, is to have this all under one system.
But at this point in time, the Laurentian students or parents don't have access to the Y1 at Parkville. The Y childcare at Parkview at this point in time.
No, I guess, and my confusion, Polly, is our goal as an elementary principal, and Angie's goal as the Laurentian principal, and Scott's goal as the North Star principal, was that any family that did not have outside daycare options or somebody to watch their kids after school had an option within our building. So everybody in Rockridge, pre-K through 6, has an after-school option.
Whatever we call it, they have.
Whatever we call it, they have an
They have the
after-school option. Currently, if you are on the Laurentian side, you pay for cub care to our school district. And if you're on the Parkview North Star side, it is under the Duluth YMCA for this year.
Now, that was another one of my questions, is the payment. So I don't know how many classrooms that Parkview is going to be offering for this, and square footage, and how any extra costs to us. Is it an in-kind service like Orthopedic Associates deal? They're charging $200 per year plus $35 for registration per year. And if they're making some money off of it, we are not charging them rent or lease or anything like that. That's not a question for you, it's more of a question for.
Right, and the $200 option, there is a part-time option too.
Right.
It's not listed on the website.
It's back here.
Okay, and they are at the Parkview are using one classroom that's used during the day, and then they use it after school.
But we wouldn't be charging the Duluth Y any rent or lease money to use that room. But they would be charging parents for the service.
Because they have to pay for their staff, yeah.
Well, okay, but I just wanted to.
Well, I think if we have any questions, we should send them in to Noel and Noel, between Noel and everybody that's running this program, they can get us the proper answers, because we're not even going to act on this tonight. So if any questions you might have between now and our next meeting, send Noel an email.
I just have another question, though. So you said this is going to be under community ed. And transportation, is that going to be an extra transportation cost paid for by community ed, or what?
We are currently in the process of figuring that out. This is one of the parts that is moving simultaneously at the same time. So rather than frankly not offering this to our kids, we decided to bring it here, but right now it would not be at cost to the parents.
And no cost to Duluth Y either.
If you want to look at it that way, correct, yes.
Okay, number 5 said there'd be no cost to the Duluth Y to transport, so we would be using some money to transport to their program.
Yes, you are in the awkward situation. You receive very little funding for anything before kindergarten. And yet there's community expectations that we provide services, but we receive actually very little funding from the state of Minnesota to do that. But we think, we're suggesting parents have an option. This is an option for them to have.
Yeah.
Well, and the transportation really isn't an extra cost because all the students that are going to the North Star, the old Franklin, are coming from Virginia, and we would have to bring them back to Virginia. We just might be bringing them back to a different address in Virginia. And I don't think we should quibble over
It's not
3 or 4 blocks. It's our cost to bring them there and our cost to bring them back. So to answer your question, there is no additional cost.
You don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say I was quibbling, but you did. Sorry you see it that way. You know, some of those kids might have to go to the northern border, north of Virginia, and, you know, instead, so, whatever.
So we will bring, and does anything bad happen if the board waits until the next board meeting?
Is this already
The program
happening?
just can't start, right?
The program already did.
It's already started,
Yeah.
right?
It did, yeah.
It's out of the chute. So it's going to come back to the board next board meeting. Are you,
We can't take action on this no matter what? I mean, we can't,
well, you're the board. You can absolutely make a decision on it if you want.
It already started September 1st. I'm not suggesting that we do, but this is another one that happens before things come to the board.
I'd make.
There are a lot of questions.
I'd support.
We have a motion by John to support this, second by Bill. Is there any further discussion?
So first you say it was only going to be discussion, then you say all of our questions will be answered, ask them and be answered. Now, all of a sudden, we're gonna pass it. That's not, I don't think that's being responsible.
And she did ask that we do take no action on it originally, just saying that we said that was okay.
I don't know why we want to rush things like this through.
It's already started. I mean, nothing has changed from what we've been doing in the past.
There's a lot of questions about costs and fairness, John, and access, and here, free food from INAC. How is that, you know, I don't know. How can we make up an agreement that INAC's going to give free food? And they're going to be making money. If there's 80 kids, they're going to be making $16,000. You know, half of that for 40 kids, and we're not going to get any rent for them. What about cleaning up after that room? You know, it's another one like Orthopedic Associates. The details just aren't clear and haven't been worked out. Not to say the program's bad. Again, it's the details and the agreement.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
I move to table.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Paulie to table, Nicole second. All those in favor of tabling it signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Tabling loses their bid at 5-2. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor of going ahead with this proposal signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
5-2. Polly and Nicole. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Consider approval a memorandum of agreement between Southwest Minnesota State University and Rock Ridge Public Schools regarding student teaching effective until July 31st, 2027.
So moved.
We have a motion by Matt. Who supported that?
I did.
Tom? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Consider approval of donation request from the Virginia Area Historical Society for a cornerstone to the Roosevelt Building and contents of the found time capsule to be put on exhibit. We have a motion by Bill, support by Tom. And it's right there on the end of our desk if you want to look at it after the meeting.
When was it buried or whatever you call for a time capsule?
It was found.
What's the, on that print out there?
1929, time capsule found in the Roosevelt Elementary.
Yeah.
And so,
They still have the cornerstones for the horseman sitting next to the bus garage. Is that something we should look and see if they want to take as a donation?
Please.
We'll take that up at the next board meeting.
has the cornerstone already been removed because the Roosevelt is pretty much gone, right?
No.
So it's, I mean, the contractor, did they put it aside?
Yeah, they put it aside and they brought this out, from my understanding.
So the contractor must have agreed to do this, because when we contract with them, it's like, they got the bid, they can do whatever they want with the stuff, right? So they were approached and they said, yes, we will take care, and that.
Correct.
So it's just waiting for them, okay.
All those in favor of approving this donation signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Meeting announcements. Our next regular meeting will be held on Monday, September 26th at 6 p.m. at the Rockridge Administration Building, 1405 Progress Parkway here in Virginia. We are now going to go into a closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D.05 Subdivision 3B to engage in the discussion with school board legal counsel related to litigation threatened against the school district by Pollyann Sorkin. The board of directors will seek legal advice on the status of the matter, alleged claims against the district attorney's analysis of the same, and the district's opinion for responding to such claims. So we will close this, and then we will reopen it to consider any possible action after we have consulted with our attorney. So at this time, it's 8:07. I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Support.
Support by Tom. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
6-1 with Polly saying no. So right now, we'll have a 3-minute break, and we will go into closed session. Thank you. 8:50 PM.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
No. We're gonna make a motion to direct our attorney to take action that we discussed during the closed session. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Tom, support by Bill. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it carried 6-0. And let it be marked that Polly left after we went into closed session and did not return for the end of this. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn at 8:51.
So moved. Support.
We have multiple supports and action. Thank you.
Thanks for making